And welcome to the Gillmor Gang. I'm Steve Gillmor, and I'm back from Paris, and so is the inimitable Robert Scoble as well.
Hey.
Welcome, Robert.
Hey, nice to be here.
And so is Kevin Marks.
Hi there. Nice to be back too.
And we're waiting for a couple of other folks to show up, but in the meantime, let's get going. What's the Robert? What is it that you've been saying on the network in the last couple of days that I haven't been following it because, as you know,
What other than fighting with SEO types?
yeah, I don't understand. What is that about?
I interviewed a couple of SEO experts who've been doing SEO since the late '90s, and they're coming out with a tool next month that helps small businesses with their online marketing. And my main point was that online marketing used to be almost wholly about getting onto the search engines. Now it's about a lot more. And so if you're a small business, a pizza shop or a camera shop, you have to do a lot more than just make sure that you're ranked well in search engines. And added to that, Google is changing now. It's not just a list of links anymore. There's a box on some pages that is real time, and so how do you SEO your way into that real time box? You can't. You have to be writing good content and participating in the real time networks like Twitter and Facebook, and doing blog posts and other things that'll get you into that real time box. So my point was that the world is making it old school SEO much less important. And maybe I said it in a little bit of a link baity way, but I don't know. That got Danny Sullivan to write a long post about how I'm wrong, and a few other people.
Well, what do you have to say? Why are you wrong?
He just said that I had the definitions of SEO wrong, that SEO has already been morphing to take advantage of these trends. If that's the case, then why call it SEO anymore? Because it's not really search engine. It's more about content optimization or online marketing, and I don't know.
Well, it's about findability, isn't it? So it's different ways of being found.
Different ways of being found, absolutely, but it's also, a lot of what these two guys talked to me about was how to track your customers, not just through search engines, but through ads on search engines and ads on Facebook and ads on Twitter, if you're going to do the advertising route. And if you write content, whether it's a tweet or a blog post or a YouTube video, being able to track that customer all the way through the whole system is interesting as well. All that stuff doesn't mean search engines to me anymore, although it has a piece of it, right?
Well, one of the things that struck me was that a lot of people were really focusing on how do we search the real-time web, and that's sort of missing the point. Because the point is that we don't need to search it in the same way because we're finding stuff through other paths.
Although I linked to Tiger Woods on Google, and if you go to Google and type Tiger Woods, you'll see the real-time box there, right? So they're starting to do real-time searching for us, so that because if you're going to Google for Tiger Woods, you probably want the latest news on Tiger Woods. You don't want to know about the golf championship he won 3 months ago. You want to learn what's going on in his life and why is he not playing golf and why is he losing sponsors and all that stuff. And that's this week's news or last week's news. So
but that's shown up already, sure. But the question is, somebody, I think Chris Dixon called the Twitter results in Google search Google's Clippy. It was like he said it was the thing that was annoying you, chatting away in the corner in a speech bubble, getting in the way of what you're trying to do, because you don't necessarily want that stuff showing up there.
Just to interrupt, Jason, can you hear me? Yeah, I don't hear you, however.
Microphone check, 1 2 1 2.
Okay,
there we
that's
go.
good. Thanks. Welcome, Jason.
Oh, thanks for having me. I was just enjoying this smart discussion between two of my friends. Keep going, guys.
Yeah, but before we do that, I want to congratulate you on being a new father.
Hey.
This is,
Yay.
you know what? Everything everybody said about like, oh my God, it's the greatest experience of your life was true times 1,000. Why did I wait till I'm 39 years old to have a kid? I should have done it 5 years ago.
Okay, now back to our movie.
Thank you. Everybody go make babies today.
I'm not making no more, Jason.
Specifically because I need play dates.
3 is way too many.
I got 2 already, and they're quite big now. They're both teenagers now. That's kind of scary.
Yeah,
That's the thing I'm scared about.
They're cool teenagers, though. So that's all right.
All right, so go back to your.
So go back to the. So, I know you were going back and forth with Lisa Barone of Outspoken Media. Did you see Ray Hoffman's post over there about how you can use real time search to spam Google? That was interesting.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, but spam is relative, right? I sort of came back at her and said, "Oh, great, you got on the first list of results." But eye track research on Google shows that people only look at the top 1 to 3 results. So if you're not in the top 1 to 3 results, most people don't even see you. And second of all, it's easy to get in there with real time, but
It doesn't stick.
It doesn't stick, first of all, and second of all, who's searching for Robert Scoble? Now, if you could get something onto Tiger Woods, I would be impressed.
No, that was the
there's
post.
a lot of people searching for Tiger Woods right now, but not, or at least there was a week ago.
Well, Ray did a post. I just put it in the chat where she was showing how you could get in for all kinds of results. Now, that may be because she had a well linked to a Twitter account, but she was saying, look, I can inject stuff into searches for Sesame Street and Miley Cyrus and all kinds of things here.
Well, that's cool.
I mean, it was the same problem we used to have at Technorati, where you were complaining that you had authority for everything, even if it was something you didn't know anything about.
That's true.
It's that same issue.
I think what Google needs to do is use lists, and so far they haven't done that. For instance, there's a list of sports writers.
Why do you use lists for anything? I mean,
I'm not sure lists
what
help.
are lists all about?
The interesting thing for me was the social search stuff. I think that piece actually makes it interesting.
I know, but here's where I was going with this. Over on Listorious, there's a list of sports writers. I would love to know what they think about Tiger Woods. I don't care about Joe Schmo in Japan about what they think.
No, I totally
about
disagree. I care what all the idiots think. The guys. What's that guy's name? Perez Hilton. He's the only one I really care about what he thinks.
You should have a little button
I'm serious.
where you can slide in more noise or less noise.
But that's not noise. I mean, the Tiger Woods story is about the media. It's not about sports. I mean, he's still the greatest golfer in the world. Nothing's changed. So we're not going to talk to a sports writer about this. What do they have to say about it? Nothing.
Right.
Now, the guy who's his agent, who's booking all these sponsorships. So
I disagree with that. The sports writers were doing the best journalism in the first few hours. Guys like me, I don't know who to call to find out, whether Tiger Woods was in the hospital or not. Or
Robert makes a good point. Because when this story broke, the sports writers, some of them actually had probably hung out. In fact, they had with Tiger in Vegas and seen some of this, debauchery firsthand. So there is something that has to occur in terms of filtering who gets into that live stream. But I honestly find the live stream kind of annoying on Google searches, and my belief is they're going to remove it.
What do you mean remove it? I mean, they just built it.
Yeah, I know. People make mistakes. They're going to remove it.
I don't think so.
Wait a minute. Hang on.
The reason I think they added the real-time search and stream is their eye track research showed them that people only look in the first 1 to 2 links. They're not looking down the page. So
I think that's true either.
What's that?
I think that's true either. I think people do look down the page.
Let's
take that for now.
Kevin, slow down. I can't understand you.
Sorry.
The heat map results, the eye track results are showing that people have changed their behavior on search pages to only looking at the top 1 to 2 to 3 results. And so they're doing all sorts of stuff to get us to look deeper into the page. For instance, they're putting Google profiles at the bottom. Now, if you search Robert Scoble on Google, you'll see my Google profile at the bottom of the page. If you're searching Tiger Woods, you'll see in the middle of the page this real-time box, which has not just tweets, but things from Google News as well rolling through it. And I think they're doing that to to get you to stick around on those pages longer and to read further down onto the page.
I don't know. That's not really Google's goal. Their goal is to get you in and out as quick as possible to what you want, and hopefully get you to click an ad. I don't think they want people loitering on those pages. It doesn't really increase.
No, they want you
value
to go
of the page.
there as the first way station.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. They want to be the portal. They want to be the command line. They want to be the Windows. Whatever analogy you'd like to use. Robert is right that the majority of people do get their search filled by the top 3 results. The top result gets 5-10 times what the second results get, and it gets about 30 times what the third result gets. So being number 1 in Google versus 2 and 3 is a magnitude of difference. But it's just, I think the common person is looking at these live search results and going, who are these people? Why do I care? And what will eventually happen is Google will simply take the links of note and then include them. But you don't need the context around it, what the person said. If everybody's linking to the TMZ story, therefore that URL is important. And if it's people who are on lists, if that person is on 25 lists,
It's a tech meme model.
it basically they're just going to do tech meme. The balloon is just because they're caught up in this whole live crunch.
But Jason,
thing. It's
Jason,
not sustainable.
there is some entertainment value of watching a crowd go real time. I mean, I'm watching the chat room here on Gillmor Gang, and it's a lot of fun to watch people talk about what we're saying.
No,
it's entertainment.
The people who listen to the show are not fun.
No, we didn't say they were fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun to watch.
It's a lot of fun to watch.
I was about to say. I mean, you're listening. I mean, people. It's bad enough that we're talking. To listen to the audience of this program. You kidding me? What is this on Friend Feed? This room?
Yeah.
That you're scared of? I'm going there now. Now, what is the deal with Friend Feed? Like, are they going to turn it off at some point?
No.
No.
Are they going to turn off the
why
internet?
Why would they turn it off? Nobody's using it. Just leave it running on a server in the corner.
Just because you're not there,
That's
Robert,
cruel,
doesn't
man.
mean
That
no
is
one's
cruel.
using it.
No, I'm on it right now. So this is the Steve Feed Real-Time Network.
Yeah.
And I can add. Okay, I'm here. Hello. Don't you people have something better to do? That's always good when you post
actually
in the chat room.
There's nothing.
I don't.
That was my
Now,
tease
that's
for
the whole
show today.
secret of
There's
the Gillmor
nothing
Gang
going
is
on
that
Twitter.
they don't have anything better to do.
No, of
Right.
course. I have nothing better to do. I should hear some smart people.
Sure, if there's something better to do, we won't be on the phone. So, I mean, I think the Google search thing I like is the social search experiment. That one actually works for me because it pulls back results from people I'm following on Twitter and people I'm following blogs and all that stuff. That one actually gives me a bunch of interesting results at the bottom. I found that more useful than the real-time stuff that gets injected in the middle.
What would be good is if somebody took the algorithmic results, the social results, and then had a human editor like curate it. That would be the ultimate.
Well, but we have lots of human editors curating. That's the point, right?
No, of course. I think what you're seeing is there are 2 trends going on. One is that people are using Google as their operating system. Okay, so we all agree with that. It's a given. People started a search box. That's probably not going to change for 5 or 10 years, if it does change. But what we all agree on as well is that search is what you do when you don't have the content you want. And so if sites existed that had the content that you wanted, you wouldn't be going to a search engine. You're going to a search engine to find content somewhere else. And I think for me, and this is what I've learned after 30 months of doing Mahalo and getting to the 140th largest site with 15 million uniques this month, is that people want an answer, they want content, and then they want to fall back to search results or fall back to asking a question. And that's why I've changed the entire model that we're doing, which is content up front, Q&A up front, and search results below it, because in our studies, that's what people want. They want content first, and then they want to fall back to search results if they didn't get the content they want. Then we can look at the content we can look at the search results they went to and look at the questions they asked and say, oh, we don't have Tiger Woods' age on the page. We need to have that. 3 people asked it. We should ask it. We should answer it.
But isn't a big chunk of your Mahalo traffic people coming from search engines? Isn't that part of the idea or not? Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's 2/3. And the thing about that is we can't change the trend here in the United States that that's where people start. Therefore, why should we try to? I think what will happen over time is that you will see people going. So it's not everybody, but a small group of people. If other resources can be built, like Mahalo or Wikipedia, you may see people starting to go to those first, and having the search results be secondary. That's my long-term play. That's my Hail Mary. If not, my home run is that we get the number 3, 4, 5 ranking in Google for every important keyword. And it's working.
Well, as somebody who doesn't use search at all, except maybe
Get a phone number for a restaurant.
no,
Burrito?
I use
Same burrito place since 1972. I know.
Yeah, exactly. The iPhone is rules in our house, but so
you don't use Google Maps to find
oh
restaurants?
yeah, I use Maps.
That's
true.
Right?
Okay, fair enough. So I use that once or twice a week. So that isn't going to keep Google in.
Well, the question is, where do you go? Where do you look to first for your content? Do you look to your social net for content and for answers, right? Which is why people search. So if you're looking for content and answer, are you going to go to a search engine? Are you going to go to social network?
No, I'm going to go to my social network and I'm going to look for the people that I know more about what I'm interested in than I do.
Yeah,
and that's if that information exists there. So, and I agree with that, and that's why.
I mean, they're using search, which is fine. I
have to
prefer
tell
that they use it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like they're doing the hard work and you're doing the easy work, which is drafting off their
Let me
answer.
Google it for you. Yeah.
But if you extrapolate that over a large sample, there are a lot of people who are basically having their friends do the searching for them.
Exactly, and I'll tell you what happened. My wife, who is Korean, the mother of my daughter, she is really into Korean food. She knows the best places. She does all the research. So we went to K-Town and went to this incredible place that's like a really obscure noodle place, and I go-walleted it. Full disclosure, I'm an angel investor in the company, and I had 25 Korean people respond and say, "Oh my God, you got to the best noodle place," and then I got 20 other ones say, "I've never heard of that."
So since you're an investor in the company, Robert, can you explain what the difference between Foursquare and Gowalla is?
Gowalla is available in more places, so that's what like Orly in Tel Aviv likes Gowalla better because her friends in Tel Aviv are already on Gowalla, and they're not on Foursquare because Foursquare is not available in many places in Israel.
All right. So what are the differences in terms
that's one
of the
difference.
applications?
The main thing for me is once you get past the game, because both of these are location-based games, you play by checking in at locations. Foursquare shows me tips of things around me, and I find a lot of serendipitous things to do. I checked in Paris, and I found out that one of the best bakeries in Paris was right around the corner. And there was all sorts of different things that were left for me in Foursquare to try out that were near me, and that's where I get the real value.
Okay, so
the game is a lot of fun, but
all right,
the real value.
There's not much difference between the two.
Okay, so back to your story, Jason.
Well, anyway, the basic story is now 3 or 4 people have gone to the restaurant and told me about their experiences there. This is something that we all experienced in the early days of blogging. We would blog and it would have an impact on the real world. And this is when I'm evaluating companies or for investment or just for our interest to write about, is when you can impact the real world. You've got something. People are making restaurant decisions and purchases based on what they're reading about on Gowalla and Foursquare, both great products, both great companies, both very similar. And we saw this in blogging having an impact, and Twitter having an impact on things with, relation to some movies are great and some movies suck, and Twitter sorts it all out for people. So this is why Google is getting paranoid, because they realize, sure, we have this market share. Sure, we have an incredible revenue-generating machine, but the world is going somewhere else. The world is saying these interactions between people are as valid as the interactions between an algorithm and a website, perhaps more so. And that's where the Google Achilles heel is. They realize it, and they are on it.
Okay, so if that's true, I think I agree with you. I don't agree with you necessarily that they're running scared about it. But I think that they've certainly noticed that for some time now that there are people who just don't use their service in the way that they're making their money.
Empires that are going to fall typically don't get scared. I mean, Microsoft was not scared of Google, and they probably are camps in there who are not scared of them, and they'll be scared of them when it's too late and they're already inside the castle. And that's what having 30, 40, 50 billion dollars in cash in your bank account will do to you. You don't see the threat. And I think Google's a unique company in that they see the threat, and that's why they bought the real stream from Twitter. And that's why they did something very bold. I mean, they didn't change the Google search results for 10 years? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we think that Twitter search is important.
They've been changing it a lot. I mean, that's true.
Well, no, it's all in the last year.
The big change was 2 years ago when they did the unified search and brought a whole bunch of different stuff in there, like maps and videos and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's not that much.
That gave the framework they can slot another piece of thing in there.
Yeah, but I mean,
but it's not that.
I haven't gone to a search and all of a sudden seen a video pop up. I mean, I go to the video tab and look at videos.
You haven't? I'm trying. Well,
No.
okay.
No, not play. I mean, you will see a thumbnail once in a while. So you're right. Kevin's right that they have changed it with that, but it's still 80%.
They took out inline playing. That's true, but it's still. I mean, if you search for Rage Against the Machine at the moment, which is the trending thing on Twitter, you get a bunch of videos in there, and you get the Twitter stuff, and you get the news stories. So that you get a good example of research there.
You're searching for a rock band, you're going to get a rock band video. So what?
Well, but now the point is they used to be 10 links, and now they are turning to content. And this is a big sea change for Google.
Okay. All right. So,
but that being said, they don't host any of it. They don't own any of the relationships. And this is why Twitter is going to become such a big bargaining chip.
Why? Do you think Twitter owns the relationships?
Yeah, of course they do. They own that conversation. That's why Google is paying them a very large check. I'm going to estimate $10, $20 million a year to get that feed.
I'm not sure that's why they're paying them. I think they're paying them in order to basically strengthen them and contain them.
Get them sucking on the teat.
Just basically have this is what this is good for, but it's not dominant. And
put them in a box.
Yeah.
They try to put them in a box.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. And I think Microsoft, that's a classic Microsoft play. What I see is that Google is. I was at this party the other day, which was off the record, so I can't say what any of them said. But I think I can say sort of generically that I heard a lot of stuff that if you rewound about 5 years, it would have come almost verbatim out of a Microsoft mouth. Like our customers, we don't see a demand for that from our customers.
Yeah, that's a great one. When people say that, that's the best.
Yeah, that's like we're not doing it.
Because customers, customers don't know what they want until somebody shows it to them. Were we all clamoring for Twitter 3 years ago?
Whoever clamored for an iPhone. I mean, that's even normal person.
More in your face, but Twitter.
Oh no, come on! We were clamoring
Twitter
for
the
iPhone.
first time said it was the lamest thing they'd ever seen. How many people in normal America are clamoring for GoWall or Foursquare? Oh, I really want to check in and play a game with my friends about where I've been.
Good point, Robert. I think you're making another point.
No, I'm making a point that these things are disruptive. Things are disruptive because you don't get them at first, and they slowly creep up on you.
Yep.
When there's some value, and there is real value. When you check in at Pete's, down the street, it shows you all sorts of stuff nearby.
Yeah, but the thing is that Mike Arrington's been talking about location services for about 3 years. Frankly, I didn't used to think that he was onto something, and I'm pretty sure that he was right then. So it's not that is changed. What's changed is, what are you pointing at? I see. I'm supposed to look at the camera. Hi, folks. What's changed is...
This is not CNBC. He can look wherever he wants.
Thank you. No, it's evidently not even public access television.
Run through a AM radio.
I can't see you anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, of course you can. Just look at the little thing in the lower left-hand corner.
No, my screen is frozen on you. I hear you just fine, but
Oh,
That happens with the TriCaster. Don't worry about it. Just you can
Yeah.
watch the Ustream.
I want to thank Jason for being here, and he can now leave since this show is sponsored by the TriCaster and by
Is it sponsored by
Rackspace.
TriCaster?
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
No, you're kidding.
Well,
I love the
it's
TriCaster. You know,
brought
I have two
through
TriCasters, and I love both
the
my
kind
TriCasters.
help
TriCaster.
of
Does that make it a
new tech
Hexcaster?
and the TriCaster.
TriCaster. I love my TriCaster.
Okay. So what were we talking about?
location-based services.
Location-based services are suddenly cool, is what you said.
Yeah, no, what I was... Thank
And
you.
search.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm amazed that I could understand what Kevin said. And
What do you
that he
guys think
actually
about
knew
Office?
it. It's dead.
Office is dead. Moving on.
Yeah. RSS, dead. Moving on.
I'm curious what Robert Scoble thinks of the Facebook privacy. I mean, I've seen some of his things, but what did you think of Facebook privacy? My editorial. Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong in your mind?
Should I answer it as Robert Scoble, the person who doesn't give a shit about privacy and has my home address and my cell phone number all over the internet?
You should answer it in as that,
Maybe
and
having
also
last
as
week.
as the average
Okay.
according to the average mass.
Separating those two things out, because Robert Scoble, does not give a shit at all. In fact, I'd love it if everybody was public. The Robert Scoble who cares about the average person, like my wife, cares about this a lot, and it's a real problem for Facebook. I thought your email and post or whatever you call them now nailed it.
Oh, thank you. It was interesting. I got a phone call. I got a bunch of people reaching out from Facebook, and I realized when I said that they were they clueless, were they unethical, and were they unlucky, I had missed one certain possibility, which is they're delusional.
And that's the problem, is because they're chasing. They need to chase the real money, which is search, and
Yep.
they can't do search
But
with
that's-
my
that's
wife's
the-
content. My wife's content is
Search is the old
baby
money.
photos, and I'm sorry, it's not the old money. It's still
Search is the money.
Search is still the money, because turning intent into little ads is still a lot of money. I mean, my
Google
wife
makes-
puts in there, "I have a baby," and all of a sudden she's seeing, stroller ads, right, and diaper ads and insurance ads.
Google makes 10 times as much as Facebook does in a
Can we
year and
stop
one quarter.
arguing about what's dead and what isn't dead? The whole dead metaphor.
Gillmor Gang is dead.
The whole dead metaphor is about what the trend is. It is, just because Office has been dead for 5 years doesn't mean that Microsoft doesn't make billions of dollars with it.
Yeah.
The same
Right.
is true, with RSS, even though it's been dead for at least a year and a half.
It's at an all-time high in usage.
Absolutely, it's the backbone of.
This is what people don't understand about the word dead. Dead does not mean dead. Dead can mean flourishing, but dead means it's dead in terms of it's as a concept.
And in terms of investment, and in terms of innovation, and in terms of a lot of things, people move on. That's just the way life is. So,
It's the way
in terms of the search, I think search is, let's say, it's changing dramatically. We've already discussed that on this show in just the last half hour. The idea that it's moving to a people-oriented, socially aware graph, that is indisputible. So the fact that their search is still being mined for
Right.
all
So
these
the-
clicks that I've never actually
The point
made.
Scoble is trying to ineloquently make is that, sorry, I have to clarify Scoble's actual point.
Go for it.
Yes. Hi, I'm Robert Scoble. Scoble's point is that Facebook, without having the bag turned inside out, without having the data being publicly available, misses the search opportunity. They need to have the bag turned inside out. They need to have the private stuff public in order to have search results, in order to have something there, in order to have something indexed in other search results. It's a big part of what they're doing. The thing that people haven't been talking about, and I got some inside information on this week, is that Facebook actually has a Google AdSense competitor that'll be running on other people's sites that is going to be coming out in next year, and that Facebook Sense is going to be using the data from your social network to give you ads, and also what other sites you've logged into. So if I've logged into 5 content sites, Business Insider and TechCrunch and whatever, with my Facebook ID, they're going to sell Facebook. Facebook's going to sell TechCrunch users and Business Insider readers, which is going to face lawsuits over, and they'll have an even bigger privacy debacle. It's the same technology Dakota used, except instead Dakota did it by putting tracking pixels on everybody's sites, and you had to opt in. Like, so Engadget would have to put the tracking pixel on for them to sell Engadget in another location. In this case, Facebook Connect is the Trojan horse. If you put Facebook Connect on your site, which Mahalo has done and every other site has done because they have to, you basically have given all of your users and all of their information and the ability to sell those users to advertisers to Facebook. It is the biggest backhanded, brilliant, evil move they've made to date, and that's after a collection of backhanded, evil, clueless moves that Facebook has made.
Well, the other thing that the executives who were at Le Web last week told me that Facebook is becoming an identity system. And for it to become an identity system, for instance, that you're going to use Facebook to pay for books, on Barnes and Noble or something like that, you're going to need to have certain things be public so that they can be shared with other sites and become your identity information. For instance, your friend network is a fingerprint. I can look at the 9 or 10 or whatever, how many Bill Gates there are, and without even seeing his name, I can pick out the real Bill Gates because I know who his real friends are, and I can see the
one
fingerprint.
that isn't on Facebook.
No, he is on Facebook, and there's one Bill Gates that is real on Facebook, and if you know who his real friends are, you know who the real Bill Gates is without seeing his picture, without seeing his name, by the way, because your friend network is a pretty good fingerprint. My friend network is slightly different from Jason's, even though we have common friends in there. If you knew who my real friends were, you would be able to pick out my...
But that's always been true. I mean, I want to get at some point to Jason's argument about why this is such a, and I think you used the word evil thing. I didn't take it as evil, and I don't think from what Robert's saying that he took it as evil either. When Robert talked about the impact on Miriam, on his wife, I think it'd be good to drill down on that, because I think that's where we'd find some common ground about what the concern is. But I think from a marketing and from a public persona perspective, I don't think that what Facebook is doing is any more evil than anybody else. And in fact, I think it's, as Jason said, I think it's going to be successful. So how evil is success?
This is a good
evil. This is the Umair Hack argument, isn't it? The question is, are you generating money exploitatively and therefore being successful in the way that the bankers behind the mortgage crisis were successful, or are you generating where you're actually doing something useful for people?
All right, well, so answer the question. Is there something useful about this? I think there's something tremendously useful about it.
Yeah, if we get a good identity system that we can use to do all sorts of interesting new things on different blogs and different e-commerce sites, I think that's useful. I think having real-time search on pictures, for instance, I can't find my old photos of my own son in Facebook. Why not? Because there's no good search there, And so if I put all of his photos into a search...
By the way, if you want to spend time with your son, you can go see him. You don't need to use Facebook.
No. Lots of people take pictures of him, and
Jason looks at the world from just over his daughter's head.
If I took a picture of your kid, and a year from now you want to find that photo, it's really, really difficult to find that photo. The reason I was so excited about Friend Feed was the real-time search. I could find anything. I could find the picture of the guy took of the plane that crashed into the Hudson.
I
still can't find that on Twitter, right?
That's right, and it still works just fine, except that it's anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours late. Although I've heard that this is going to get fixed in the near future, and I'll believe that when I see it. So, Jason, what is it that's so evil about the success of being able to become, to morph? I mean, before Twitter, to go back to something we were talking about earlier, before Twitter, nobody had any idea that this was going to be an important thing to do, to sort of bake out a public persona for everybody on the planet. And Now
Well,
we realize that it is true.
I think we did, but we were doing it. Those of us using blogs were doing that in a distributed way. The danger is that we're now doing
Is
this
this
in
the
constrained
distributed,
ways.
federated argument? Because I think that's hogwash. What do you mean that we were doing it in a distributed way?
We were constructing identities for ourselves through having blogs and linking to each other in the
And
same way they're not doing that.
And what are we doing now with the Twitter micro message stream? How is that different?
It's
why
under the
is that
control
not
of one company.
distributed?
It's
What?
under the control of one company.
It's not. That's like saying that the internet is under the control of the carriers, which of course it is. So
Well,
what?
no, it isn't. But no. So
That's politics.
The point
You're
is
bringing
that
politics into a discussion
I'm not bringing
about the way
politics
that.
into it.
Of course
I'm-
you are. This is the
No,
Google argument about Chrome OS is that somehow it's open and therefore it has some sort of caveat.
Listen,
or
I
some
didn't come on the
characteristics.
show to hear all these Google socialist arguments. I'm just kidding.
I agree with that too.
Google socialist.
Go on, Kevin.
Google socialism. Yes, of course. All sites are created equal and should be treated as such. We're going to distribute the traffic on the internet equally to every website. Everybody will get the same exact number of page views, and everybody will be number one on Quantcast.
Sounds like a plan. No, the point is that yes, identity systems are important, but abdicating our responsibility of that over to Facebook and saying, sure, you can control our identity for the whole web. That worries me. Yeah. And it worries me
What do you mean
if you hand over to
control
Twitter
our
too.
identity?
That's the point of doing building distributed systems and open standards for this, so that you can decide where you host it and it can work, it can interoperate.
If you imbue a service or several services with signals, what I would call gestures of who you are and what you find interesting, and basically tell people that if they pay attention to what you're interested in, then you'll listen to them, and that you will try and filter them into your stream as opposed to excluding them from your stream. That is your identity under your control, not theirs.
Yeah, but if it's in one site and they can control who has access to that, that was the conversation we were having with Jack last week on stage, where we were saying, he was saying, we want to open this up to people. We want to retain control to decide who we open it up to, and that was the issue.
But how long do you think that will survive in a network environment? Sure, they want to control how this is opened up. That doesn't mean that we're going to not support somebody else who comes along. I mean, the network is extremely elastic. The failover of the internet is why it has won. Why do you expect that this? Just because
I'm saying that I believe the internet will win. Yeah.
Okay, so Jason, can you explain to me what was evil about what Facebook did?
Well, I think Facebook understands the default. They understand consumer behavior very well. Obviously, they're experts at it. They created the viral loop that is the largest social network ever created, and they basically presented their new privacy options as an enhancement to security, when in fact it is not an enhancement to privacy. It's actually giving up your privacy. And then if you click through to it, they say, basically 2 clicks in, you would have just exposed all your Facebook life to everybody, and it's totally incongruous to what people expect from Facebook. And they obviously were not doing it to increase your privacy settings and ability. They did it because they want to get the big search prize, as Mr. Scoble says correctly. And so I think that they are, based upon the behavior of Beacon, based upon the offer stuff, they've basically created an ecosystem for stealing people's information, duping people about their privacy, and monetizing it. Now, for people like Robert who want to live in public, that's fine. For other people who don't, it's pretty nefarious, and I think that they're not good citizens of the internet, and they're selfish,
right.
and they're trying to and what's going to happen is they're going to bring the heat down on everybody. Google behaves much better. Microsoft behaves much better. In fact, Microsoft has the softest policy in terms of retaining search results and everything. And I think Google should step up and actually not keep search results and keep data for even less to try to make people feel better about the internet. But we're going to make people paranoid about the internet in a very short period of time.
Okay, so I just want to point out that when I I think Mike Arrington. What is it when you tag? Oh, he tagged a photo of us last week in Paris, and he tagged my name, and so Facebook sends you an email. So I went in, clicked on the link from the email, and was presented with this requester, which I couldn't get out of, which I believe is what this issue is about. In other words, I was basically told, you can't look at this picture until
you change your privacy settings.
Change your privacy settings. So I looked at it, and most of the privacy settings were still the same. And the only ones that were different, when I hovered over it, it said there were 3 at the bottom. I think it was the email address and, the 3 sort of fundamental ones. They were set to friends. And I hovered over the old setting, and it was set to friends. So I don't know what was changed. As far as I could tell, nothing was changed.
I just want to take. I have a breaking news story.
You might have already changed all your settings to be pretty open. If you didn't have your settings changed to be pretty open, or if you were sticking with the default settings, which is probably what this was aimed at, the new settings were much more open. And keep in mind, they only needed there's 350 million people on Facebook, right? They only needed 20% to change. Which would give them more people who have now an open Facebook than Twitter has.
Which I think is a good thing. So
it's a good thing because now they can build a search engine and they can build this new identity system and they can do other things to open up the data and let you shove data over to Huffington Post and other places. Which will let them spread their
this is
machine.
Fascinating, but I really don't want you to agree with me. I'd like somebody to disagree with me.
Actually, here's incoming breaking news. We have a lawsuit has been filed. Complaint has been filed to the Federal Trade Commission on Thursday by a privacy organization that charges that the privacy changes constitute unfair and deceptive trade practices. The Electronic Privacy Information Center, or EPIC, says that Facebook's recent changes violate user experience expectations, diminish user privacy, and contradicts Facebook's own representations. Blah 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 blah. So it is going to be a bunch of lawsuits over this.
Well, lawsuits, and there's going to be government inquiry. That's one reason we went to Washington, D.C. last summer, was to study how the Congress is approaching privacy on the internet, and they care deeply about it because their constituency cares about it. My wife cares that she doesn't want to be public with some of her information, and so this stuff gets her very nervous.
So
when I did the survey with my group of readers on my email newsletter, Jason's List, which you can get to at bit.ly/Jason's List, I had 95% of people say they do not trust Facebook, period. Majority of people in our industry do not trust Facebook.
That's like saying,
with their information.
I think 95% of people don't trust anybody. And
I think it's probably about 50%. I mean, you trust Twitter, whatever. And most people,
Twitter?
Most people said they thought majority of people felt they were unethical. I love this shot of the back of Steve's head with 8 monitors.
Thank you.
That is brilliant. Can we get a zoom in on his head? Can the cameraman just zoom in on the head?
Can I get any more bald and old and fat? I don't think so.
And brilliant.
Thank you.
By the way, it doesn't matter if you're bald, fat, and old. It just matters that you're brilliant. I keep telling myself that.
Yeah. Just staying there in one position long enough, and you'll be feeling better about yourself, but not
Absolutely.
Me.
Broken clock, right twice a day.
Yes.
Hey, I'm already married to a beautiful woman, so I'm fine. I can let myself go.
I love the new Jason who sees the possibilities of life.
I am a kindler and gentler Jason who is getting on a 2 o'clock conference call. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us on the Gillmor Gang Live, including Earthlink dial-up connections beyond your wildest dream, 56K, 128K, and our new premium DSL solutions at 256K. I'd also like to thank GoDaddy premium domain names, $49.95 for a 3-year commitment. That's only $149. Act now and you'll get your registered domain. We will give you a free FTP site with 500 kilobits of data. Thank you for tuning in to the Gillmor Gang, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you for those of you who made it, and especially those who did not. F you, Lauren Feldman. Then I'm done. You could send the Emmy to Jason Calcanis, care of Mahalo, 902 Colorado, Santa Monica, California, 90401. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Station ID by Jason.
All right, so now the show can really start.
I
right?
love you all.
A legend in not only his own mind, but others as well. Okay. Now we can really talk.
Now we can really talk.
So, Robert, what were you going to say now that he's
I
gone?
don't know.
Well, the other thing I liked from Robert this week was the using HTML5 for iPhone development.
Yeah,
Post.
that
That
was
was interesting.
Why is that?
Because it's what I've been saying for a while, but it's nice to see people doing it. But
Slow down or talk.
Talk coherently.
more
Okay.
distinctly. Yes.
So I went to Nextdot, which is a startup started by some ex-Googlers and others. It's a travel app. It's pretty cool app. But they've decided not to do an iPhone app for right now, and instead to do an iPhone web page, a web page that's made for the iPhone, and using HTML5 and JavaScript and stuff like that. And they're joining others who are doing that, like TechMeme and Upcoming.org, and I think I found somebody else who was doing the same thing. The advantage there is they can change their app every day. They don't have to wait 3 weeks for Apple to approve their app.
Oh, yeah, I read that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
there were some other advantages too. You know, the nice thing is
like it
now
works
that
on
they have-
Android.
well, you know that too, but the
well, that's a good point.
so it's working cross-platform. The small form factor that they're designing for works great as widgets on blogs and
But
other
to
things.
call this HTML5 is a little bit disingenuous.
No, they're using the HTML5 technologies. They're using. Kevin, you might run down. I forget all the technologies, but a technology to pre-cache pages onto the iPhone.
Yeah, I understand what you're
yes.
saying, but to call it HTML5,
Well, HTML5 is
better
a sort
to
of label for that set
Right.
of technologies.
how about calling it, the
Modern web.
soon to be known as HTML5, and soon
No,
means
it's HTML5. It's HTML5 on the iPhone. iPhone supports.
It's
4 or
like
5
local-
different
WebKit
HTML5 technologies.
supports certain HTML5 characteristics, and then
Yeah.
again, it doesn't support anything having to do with video.
Yeah, it does.
In terms of HTML5, no, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
No.
You can,
Yes, it
it
does.
does.
I have a
Use
demo for
HTML5 video on
Google, so it's
iPhone
on the iPhone.
and on Android.
So you're telling me that that the H.264 codec, which is not free and not open source, is supported on the iPhone and is called HTML5? I don't think so.
Yes, it is.
I have a demo from
Well,
the guy.
then
at
we
Google
have we have real news here, which is that somehow something which we have to pay royalties on has been included in an open standard environment. How does that work?
Well, Apple pay the royalties and Google pay the royalties.
So they're paying the royalties for. Is that listed as the video codec?
No, the standard doesn't list a video codec. But
Okay.
So
then, how's that Flash thing going for HTML5?
What do you mean Flash?
On other devices, is Flash considered to be an open standard?
No.
Okay, but yet Flash is supported on Android and other devices other than the iPhone.
I haven't got Flash on my Android. It's alleged to be supported on it, but I haven't seen it running there yet.
Yeah, but what are you saying that Flash is part of the HTML5 standard?
No.
Okay, well then I don't see how you can say that H.264 is either. These are market standards that are aligned alongside.
I didn't say H.264 was part of the HTML5 standard. I said the video tag in HTML5 can be used today on iPhone and Android, and both those platforms currently support H.264 playback.
Okay, so in other words, it's being mapped from the video tag to.
Well, no, it's like the image
H.264.
tag. The image tag, the image formats that are supported by the image tag depend on which browser you're running, right? If you're running IE, you don't get ping. So the same with the video. The video standards that depend on which browser you're running. So if you run Chrome or Safari or iPhone and Android variants thereof, you get 264 if you run. You don't get that if you're running Firefox.
Right. And if you're
Or if you're running IE, you don't get any of it because they haven't shipped video yet.
right. Okay. So what we're saying is that video is supported in an ad hoc fashion alongside HTML5. I mean, if you want to call the video tag a solution, then to the problem of ubiquity in terms of being able to use video across all devices simultaneously. The only way you can do that is by going through the browser. You can't go through the native iPhone client because it's not supported.
What do you mean by native iPhone client? I'm slightly confused there.
Well, for example, what Miguel Diaz is doing with the with Moonlight and decompiling applications and then porting them over, and what Microsoft is doing by pushing Silverlight Video to the iPhone is pushing it to Safari, which then plays it through H.264.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but Microsoft's trying to get it to H.264.
Right. So there's to say that there's a single set of standards which can be used across cross-platform, across phone platforms, called HTML5, I think is a little bit of...
No, and in fact, Nextstop made it very clear that this web client that they released was only for iPhone. They said that they haven't yet even tested it on Android. I sort of laughed in the video at that point because I figured that they have, but they just wanted it. Nextstop, the company Nextstop.
Yeah, it worked to Android. I tried it earlier.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
It's another like location-based doodah.
It's a way for you to tell people what cool things to go and see in San Francisco, for instance.
Mm.
It's actually pretty well done. It's a really nice site.
So the point that I think you're making, I mean, you've already made the point that you think you're making, but the point I think that I would agree with is that there is a set of services now which will allow, along with something akin to what happened with the What Working Group as far as basically stubbing out Internet Explorer basic functionality and then writing a layer on top of that would work with the major browsers, that we're going to see that kind of sort of decompiling strategy that I talked about with Moonlight and what Microsoft's doing with video. We're going to start to see those things, tools created which allow us as developers to be able to write once and run many. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the what Robert, that's what you think is the fundamental breakthrough that's going on right now.
That's one of them. The next stop had nothing to do with that. They just chose technologies that they could deliver without going through Apple's approval process.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which means they still are targeting the iPhone, but they used technologies to deliver their service to the iPhone without having to wait 3 weeks.
Well, since we can't comment on what we haven't seen yet, which is the new Google phone, however, we can certainly make up something. And what I've made up is the assumption that probably within the next 2 years that we'll see parity between that platform and the iPhone. In other words, that the market will be essentially split down the middle between those two. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Well, I think the point is the point we were getting at with the HTML5 development is that you can do something that works on all of them, and that's the valuable part of it. You don't have to write apps for 6 different platforms.
Well, I can't say what the Google engineers responded to when I suggested that it was going to be a long time before we saw HTML5 compatibility. But what I think is that it's going to be a very long time. Longer than 2 years.
Because of IE8?
No, mostly because I don't think it's in Apple's interests to fully conform. I don't think it's in Google's interests to support. I don't think Google thinks it's in their interests. Again, I'm not talking about off-the-record comments. I don't think it's in Google's interest to support Silverlight on Chrome OS.
Right, but Silverlight has nothing to do with HTML5.
I think that what I'm trying to suggest is that there's going to be an accommodation coming from both sides that is going to be what users and developers want, because developers are not going to wait around for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years for the kinds of technologies and features that are going to drive the economics of what's happening right now. I mean,
I think developers go wherever the users are going, and look at Nextstop. They talked specifically about the iPhone. They didn't care about the other devices, at least with this release. Seismic. I see the CTO of Seismic is hanging out in the chat room. They did iPhone first, and now they're on Android and BlackBerry. And they'll target the devices where the users are. Loic watches that like a hawk.
I think that if you're talking Android, lowercase a, I think that this Google phone, when and if it appears, is going to be a substantial. It's going to have a huge impact, and the where I think it's going to have a huge impact is going to be in encouraging developers on the iPhone to be able to port and produce apps that work on both platforms.
Well, I think that's why this HTML5 approach is being adopted, because now you can. He said even if you target the iPhone, it takes less than a week to port from the iPhone to an Android platform. Because you're already in a web browser, and it's not that
right.
Yeah, no, I understand the point that you have made, and I think that it's an accurate one. I think, however, it's a transitional phase that we're going through. Notice the speed with which video apps are now being, streaming video apps are now being released and approved on the iPhone. That's in direct result to, what's coming in terms of these Android devices.
Yeah,
and more importantly, it's as a result, I think, of the clout and leverage that Apple is going to have when it comes time to renegotiate with AT&T, and that's happening very soon. And I think what's happening is that if Android succeeds in pushing the envelope in terms of carriers like Verizon accepting certain practices which before the iPhone would have been unheard of, like tethering and this kind of video streaming stuff. I mean, Verizon's getting a bit of a free ride right now in terms of this real-time video, because the volume isn't there. I mean, AT&T has had to support an incredible amount of build-out, and even though I've seen, I think Dave Weiner published something about Consumer Reports dissatisfaction with AT&T, and it was widespread. I also saw another report which suggested that other than San Francisco and New York, which of course is all we care about, but other than that AT&T has got a very, very robust network. So I think that we're going to start to see the pressure building on Verizon and other platforms, and I think that as Apple consolidates its gains in terms of bringing the carriers into alignment, that they're going to start moving that stuff across. So I don't see the death of the iPhone under any circumstances. No. I think that the market's going to be built out, and the companies that are going to lose are going to be the company that makes that Symbian operating system. I forget their name.
Yeah. Nokia, you mean?
Yeah, I don't forget their name.
But they, their answer is to say, okay, we'll support the web standards too. That's where they get there and compete on that basis, and compete on the basis that they build good phones.
Yeah. The
that's
reason
the
I'm holding
answer
up the
that
quick phone
Adobe
is
has about Air, and I think they're going to get creamed by Silverlight.
Yeah, the reason I'm holding up the or the Droid with Quick on it is I talked with the main engineer over at Quick this week. They just released a new Android version, which is quite nice, and he says the video on the Droid is noticeably better than the iPhone because of the APIs that they have available to them. And because he says the Verizon network is much better. He's done drive around tests in San Francisco area, and he loses fewer packets and loses less data using Verizon than he does on iPhone. Now, is that improving? Absolutely. We just this week, when I got back from Paris, I have 3G in my house from AT&T, which is a first for me. Considering Phil Schiller lives right down the street from me, and it was really surprising that we didn't have 3G. Although, yeah. So.
That was interesting. One of the interesting things for me going to Paris was subsisting only on Wi-Fi and seeing how that felt. Because I'm so used to being always navigating using my phone here now that going back to using Metro maps and things like that was quite a wrench.
Well, in fact, thanks for reminding me to cancel my plan because I probably paid another $50.
Yeah, wait till you try and do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I tried to do it. No, actually, you're not running up any more data charges.
No, but I'm running up every week. I'm paying $50. So if I don't cancel my plan, I'm going to be paying a lot of money for just international data that I'm not going to use for a while. Because I got the 200 mega. So AT&T has a 200 megabyte roaming plan for overseas. And it's $200 a month, and you can only use 200 megs a month overseas. If you use more megs, and I used about 80 megs while I was in Paris for a week, so that gives me a good baseline to use next time.
The where I noticed it was the the complete failure of voice. Voice just went out the window. It's a
really?
dollar, yeah, because
Oh yeah, because you're paying so
if
much.
I called Tina, who's sitting next to me on her iPhone, from my iPhone in Paris, it cost $1 for me a minute and $1 for her to listen a minute.
Yeah.
Right. So, and a text is like 50 cents and 20 cents to receive, something like that. So it quickly you move to the question then is whether or not the if you have Wi-Fi, which we had decent Wi-Fi finally in the hotel this time, and at the event.
Yeah.
That was pretty much all we needed.
Right. Well, until you started trying to go out in the evening and then find where people are. Yeah.
Right, and that's when the data plan started to work. But when the phone rang, it was like,
oh God, no.
I remember calling Steve, and he's like,
it wasn't even the phone ringing. It was, as a matter of fact, you called me, Robert, and it was like, get off the phone. It's just costing $1 a second.
I said, I'll pay your $1. I'll pay your $1.
Yeah, how exactly are you going to do that? So how do I collect that?
We invoice him.
I'll be over. What do I owe you? $5? $10?
Yeah. The interesting thing was the voicemail on the iPhone. There was an elaborate discussion that they sent me an email to explain how it worked, which I still don't quite understand. But basically, the gist of it is that if your phone is on and not in airplane mode, and somebody calls you and you let it go to voicemail, you pay $1 a minute for the voicemail. That the only way that you can not pay for voicemail is by turning the phone off.
Or by switching to redirect, right? If you use the redirect we use for Ribbit, you can redirect it so it doesn't ever go to that voicemail, it goes to our voicemail. So that works.
Talk about complicated.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Hopefully,
This is why
You type a 12-digit number into your phone, and thereafter your voicemail goes to us, or I'm going to them.
Yeah. That's why if you call my phone, you'll get a voicemail that says, please don't leave me a voicemail. That solved that whole problem.
Well, I thought that was just because you I don't know why I thought, but...
No, because I've been hit with roaming charges overseas. That's part of the reason. The other part is I just hate listening to voicemail.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I need to get that Ribbit setup working. We should sit down and do that sometime.
Well, you better hurry up.
It turns the voicemail into an SMS. That's what it does, and it actually works really well.
Well,
it's a product made by my company. Sure, disclaimer, but it actually solves that problem.
Rob just said AT&T in Austin completely sucks. It sucks everywhere I've been. I haven't found any
Really?
place that's nice.
Well, their PR folks are starting to. Unfortunately, I didn't save the article, but it was a fairly interesting one about how AT&T, because of their volume of data that they've been pushing.
That's bullshit, because I when I drive from here to San Francisco, there's 5 minutes that it drops on Devil's Slide.
San Francisco. I said that. San
I
Francisco,
know,
New York,
but I live in Half Moon
terrible.
Bay. There's one place where AT&T doesn't work and Verizon does, and Verizon never drops calls on me. It's so much better quality.
I'm not
I have a
disputing
feeling though that the New York Times, I forget who wrote the article, said it was actually the wireless modem that's in the iPhone that actually is hampering the AT&T network.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some truth to that, because I get better coverage when I use my network, my Nokia phone on AT&T. The number of drop calls goes down, and I get coverage in some of the dead zones where I get only 0.1 bar on the iPhone.
So what I'm saying
it's a bit
is
of both.
what I'm saying is that when you get beyond the specifics of the phone and the service, that in general AT&T, because of the iPhone, has what percentage of the traffic on smartphones right now?
50 or 70,
70%,
something crazy.
and that it has completely overwhelmed AT&T, and that they have done a better job than some people think about supporting this massive build out, and that when we start to see that kind of traffic materializing on Verizon and other services, first of all, we'll see what the price is, and secondly, we'll see how they cope with it.
Verizon's just as expensive for me as iPhone as AT&T is. So
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if this alleged Google phone, I have to be very careful about what I don't say. So if there's a Google phone.
Well, the point is that there are
it's
many
going to have a
Google-ish
big
phones,
impact.
right? That's the point of Android.
What?
There's a whole bunch of these different ones that different people to make. That some will be big screen, some will be small screen, and they'll spread out to fill a lot of niches.
When Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, my basic attitude was that it completely changed everything. When this Google phone comes out, it's going to completely change everything again, and it's not going to obviate the iPhone. To the contrary, it's going to bolster the iPhone. But it's a huge, if it's real, it's a huge thing. It's not about multiple, device manufacturers on top of Android. If it was that, then why are they doing their own phone, assuming that they're doing their own phone?
Google wants to kick ass on the iPhone. Have you played with Google Maps, by the way, on Android?
No, I don't have an Android. It's a Russian device.
They're unbelievable.
Why?
We were using it because I wish I could show it to you, but I'd have to take you in the car and take you around town. It shows you turn by turn, and the maps flow in front of you to show you what's coming up, and you can just keep it up on your dashboard, and it talks to you. It tells you, it's just like a car navigation. It says turn left here, turn right here. And the maps are just much better, and it shows you photos along the way of what you're seeing. When you arrive, for instance, when we arrived at the place to get our tuxes, it showed us a picture of what the tux place looked like, so that you could look around and see, not just look for a sign, but look for the building. It was really well done.
So when I think about the iPhone, I think about the New York Times app, which is fantastic. I think about the Ustream recorder app, which is fantastic. Yeah. I haven't tried the Quick app, but it'll be fantastic. The
Quick app on Android is fantastic. So.
Okay, but how's that Ustream app on Android?
I don't know. I have a good one on the iPhone, so I haven't even tried it.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is that it's not about either of the platforms. It's about both of them. And to your guys' point, it's about a development path that's going to be essentially write once, run many. And when that happens, I think that's going to happen within the next 6 months. It's already virtually happening now.
Yeah.
And it's going to change the characteristics of what is approved through the App Store so that it becomes irrelevant whether or not you do it on so-called HTML5 or not. In fact, Apple is going to need to be able to accommodate cross, quote, HTML5 native apps in a more seamless way in order to compete against the experience on Android or on the alleged Google phone.
So you think
Yeah.
that there's not going to you're agreeing with Ray Ozzy's point, which is apps are going to be largely the same on all platforms.
Absolutely.
And you don't think that there's going to be technologies that come out that are going to leapfrog one
Of course,
platform.
there always are, and there will be social media applications like what you're positing about Koala and Foursquare and whatever Google does with location and whatever Twitter does with location and whatever Facebook does, as Jason Kincaid wrote, which was a fantastic analysis. These things are going to always sort of bounce back and forth, but in general, the value proposition for any major developer is going to be to simultaneously produce for both platforms. If they don't, they're going to lose to a competitor that does do that.
Okay. It's interesting to see the Google Voice, the Google Maps, Gmail on the Android platform is better. It'll be interesting to see if Google ports their best work to iPhone.
I think
or
they
other
will.
platforms.
I think that it's a no-brainer for them.
Do you think so? And the other
Absolutely.
question I have is
They're not trying to take over. They're not trying to kill iPhone. That would be like killing the goose that laid the golden egg.
no, but if your
Right.
apps aren't quite as good, if I showed you Google Maps on the Droid, you're going to want the Droid. That was
But Google would love to put that onto iPhone.
Of course they
It would, but why? Apple only changes its main UI once in a while, right?
You're arguing against yourself. If they start to accommodate cross, browser and native apps in a more efficient way, they're going to get the best of both worlds.
But we're hearing rumors that Apple's going to do its own maps now.
They did their own in the Mac space. They did their own text editor and their own presentation program, both of which are great. I don't use PowerPoint anymore. I haven't for years, and I don't do presentations, but if I did, I'd use Keynote because it's very easy to use.
Right, but if Apple makes its own maps and puts them into the main UI and doesn't put Google into the main UI, what incentive is there for Google to do maps for an iPhone?
I don't think that's going to happen. I think that that's media conjecture, and I don't think it's reality. I don't think they see themselves as in a death match. I think that Google, everything that Google has done has been to indicate, I'm not saying anything that I was told.
Yeah.
My impression before I went to this party is that everything.
You're really having.
I just want to be able to go back next year. I'm pushing the envelope. I've already, said everything that they told me, but I just said it in the form of a question rather than an answer. I think that everything that Google has done indicates what they say is true about what's good for the internet is good for them. I think that continues to be true. I don't think that what's good for them is bad, for example, for Microsoft. I think what's good for Google is also good for Microsoft, which is why I see an integration of these two strategies as being where the rubber is going to meet the road.
At my brother's wedding was the guy who runs HP's mobile strategy, and we were bugging him about Android. And he tried to put up a good fight for Windows Mobile and saying Windows Mobile 7 is actually pretty nice. It'll be interesting to see if the market agrees with him.
All right, I'm going to leave it there.
Okay.
This is Steve Gillmor. This has been the Gillmor Gang. I want to thank Robert Scoble, Kevin Marks, and Jason Calacanis. And I want to thank everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.